Procrastination. A lot of kids are smart. The thing that stops them from getting in it is procrastination. Procrastination is putting things off to a later time. An example of procrastination would be starting a project one day before it is due. Procrastinating is bad because it makes a person stressed out. It is also bad because the end product is usually not very good, since studying is not very fun. Students play video games, hanging out with friends, and eating out before studying. They end up studying the night before the test and do not get much sleep. This is bad because 8 hours of sleep or more is needed to do well. Students who procrastinate end up doing badly on tests. Teachers always encourage students to start early and do a little bit of studying every day. Procrastination does not just happen in school. It happens everywhere. People put off going to the doctor, applying for jobs, and more. Some people say that procrastination is just human nature. However, some people say that they do well when they procrastinate. They say that stress makes them work faster.
Red meat increases risk of cancer. Health authorities in Britain have advised against eating too much red meat. The British government has issued a set of red meat guidelines which caution against eating more than 500 grams a week or 70 grams a day. This is the equivalent of 2 beef burgers. Scientists say that eating more than this increases the risk of getting colon and bowel cancer. The new limits are down on the 90 grams a day recommended in 1998. Researchers think people who eat a lot of meat like lamb, beef, ham and bacon have a higher risk of cancer. A 2005 European study found people who ate about 160 grams of red meat a day increased their bowel cancer risk by 1/3 compared to people who ate little meat. People have around a 1 in 19 chance of developing bowel cancer in their lifetime. Experts told people the new guidelines did not mean people had to abandon red meat. The head of health information at Cancer Research UK said, "This doesn't mean people have to become vegetarian, but if you're having a steak every day, that's probably not helping." Scientists are unsure as to why red meat increases the risk of colon cancer. They suspect that hem, the pigment that gives meat its color, damages the cells in the digestive system and the lining of the colon. A World Cancer Research Fund official said, "Following simple diet and lifestyle advice can help protect against cancer. Red meat can be part of a healthy, balanced diet. It is a good source of protein and vitamins and minerals. But people who eat a lot of red and processed meat should consider cutting down." A bicycle trip. I'm planning to go on a bicycle trip around Europe.
Why do you want to go on a bicycle trip?
It is an environmentally friendly way to travel.
What do you have to do in order to go on a bicycle trip?
Before the trip, I'll need to ride my bicycle a lot. That will make me fit and strong. I also need to get some equipment.
What kind of equipment will you need?
I need road maps of the countries I am going to visit. I also need strong bags to carry clothes and food. I need to carry all these things on my bicycle.
Are you traveling with another person?
Yes, I am going with a friend of mine. He likes bicycle trips.
I wish I could go on a bicycle trip too. Well, don't get too many flat tires. Have you ever been lost? Have I ever been lost? Yes. I've been lost countless times, even with the GPS. But thankfully today I am better than I used to be, because in the past, I would get on the metro going in the wrong direction. Or I would walk in circles and end up late to an appointment that I was supposed to be at. Nowadays, because I know that I'm a person with a compromised sense of direction, I like to prepare beforehand. So that means looking up the directions to a place and also giving myself a buffer of time just in case I do get lost. Oftentimes, for a very important event, I'll do a dry run of the route the day before. So I will look up the directions and I will take them the day before to make sure I know what I'm doing and where I'm going the day of, and I don't arrive late again. Generally, I'm much better than I used to be. In the United States, being late is sort of frowned upon. So I try to do everything I can to arrive on time or early. And it's also less stressful for me. If all else fails, then I will request an Uber or a Lyft. And I like to give buffer time for the driver just in case he or she gets lost as well. But again, generally I am much better than I used to be, and that is thanks to technology. So thank you so much. And what about you? Have you ever been lost?
Not going to church. Chris has been going to church every Sunday since he was 4 years old. His parents were very religious and wanted Chris to follow in their footsteps. His dad was a pastor, and his mom was a choir leader. Chris always felt like he was in the middle. He didn't particularly love or hate Christianity. Chris learned about other religions in his history class. He learned about Buddhism, Islam, Hinduism, and more. After learning about other religions, Chris wanted to convert to Buddhism. He felt like he could relate to it better. One Sunday, he told his parents he was not going to church. They were shocked and angry. They told him that if he did not go to church, they would take away all electronics from him. Chris was okay with that. He gave his parents his cell phone, video game console, and laptop. When his parents came back from church, they wanted to have a long conversation with Chris. Chris told them why he didn't want to go to church anymore. He explained what Buddhism was and why he wanted to convert. His parents tried to convince him that Christianity was better. It was useless. Chris made his decision.
Afraid to cry. Dean was known as the tough guy at school. He always wore tight shirts that showed off his muscles. He always pushed the skinny kids at school. He always treated the teachers like they didn't matter. He never did his homework. He got in a lot of fights. People were afraid of him, and Dean loved it. Dean's world turned upside down when his brother passed away. He still went to class. His English teacher was talking about Shakespeare, whom Dean's brother admired. Hearing about Shakespeare reminded Dean of his own brother. His eyes started to water. He didn't want anyone to see him cry. He got up from his desk. "Dean, you can't get up while I am teaching," Mr. Chen said. Everyone stared at Dean. Everyone could see the tears in his eyes. They laughed at him. Dean ran out of the classroom. Mr. Chen followed him and sat down with him. "Dean, it's okay to cry. Something tragic happened. Go ahead and cry." Dean put his head on Mr. Chen's shoulder and cried out loud. It was the first time he cried in front of someone. It was the first time he didn't act tough.
Taking the train. You're so lucky, Marion. You're leaving for Hawaii in 5 hours. I never travel because I hate flying in airplanes. I don't like buses, either.
That doesn't matter, Dean. There are other ways to get around. You should take the train somewhere.
That's true. It's been a long time since I last traveled. I've always wanted to take a long train trip.
What's stopping you? Go to the travel agent now and ask about train trips.
What do you think the fares are like?
I'm not sure what train fares are like now. I think it depends on your destination. That's a question you'll have to ask a travel agent.
Can you suggest a good person to talk to?
My travel agent is always very helpful. Here is his phone number.
Thanks. I'll call him right now. Where's the phone?
What is an ideal wedding for me? An ideal wedding includes both traditional and non-traditional elements of a wedding, and Traditionally, I think a bride should be wearing a white dress and the groom should be wearing a suit in Armenia. We have this tradition when a groom has to pick up the bride from her home. And I think this moment is really emotional when he sees her for the first time and then together. They go to the church. Going to the church is an important part of Armenian weddings. And I think it's really beautiful. After that, there is a session for taking photographs in the nature or somewhere beautiful. And then everyone goes to a restaurant to celebrate the wedding. The ideal celebration starts with the groom and the bride having their first dance, which is usually a tango or a waltz, and after that, it's all just really crazy because everyone's drinking, eating, and there's lots of dancing until everyone is really tired, and they just decide to go home. News about an elephant, a farm, a pub, a charity, and bikes. An elephant has escaped from the local zoo. Eyewitnesses say that the animal wandered out of its cage during feeding time this evening. It remained unnoticed for 20 minutes, by which time it had left the zoo grounds and caused havoc in the local streets. Animal welfare officers are now trying to coax the elephant back. Until then, residents are being warned not to approach it. The Vegetarian Farmers Group is holding an awareness day this Saturday at Hill Farm. All produce is fresh and organically produced. Families are welcome and there will be face painting and outdoor games for the children. Tickets can be purchased in advance from the organizers. A local pub has defied all public expectations by becoming the first successful alcohol-free pub in the country. Sales have rocketed since the quiet country pub stopped serving alcohol, and owners say families love the atmosphere there now. Local charity shops are appealing for people to bring unused pairs of glasses to their shops this week. The request is part of a nationwide appeal to offer people in other countries the chance to use the glasses. A previous appeal, made 5 years ago, was extremely successful, and it is hoped that this year's will be even more so, particularly due to the increase in contact lens use. As from tomorrow, mountain bikes will be banned in the city center. Police say there have been too many accidents on the ring road this year. It is hoped that they will make cycle paths in the near future. And now for the weather. Today will be bright for the most part, with top temperatures reaching 25 degrees Celsius. Tonight will be warm too, so perfect weather for barbecues. Overnight, the pressure of these temperatures may result in a few storms in the south.
The missing water bottle. Jared has a green water bottle that he brings to school every day. He loves it because it keeps his water cold. It also has a cool robot on it. One day, he loses it. Jared asks his friend Richard if he has seen it. Yeah? I saw Albert holding it, Richard says. Jared walks over to Albert's locker. Hey, you have my water bottle, right? Jared asks. I did, but I let Denise borrow it, Albert says. Jared goes up to Denise. Hey, do you have my water bottle? Denise shakes her head and says, I thought it was cool looking, so I showed it to Amanda. She has it now. Jared goes to Amanda. Amanda, tell me you have my water bottle. Amanda shakes her head. I thought it was Lucas, so I gave it to him. Jared screams in frustration. Jared goes to Lucas. Do you have my water bottle? Jared asks. I gave it to Richard to give to you, Lucas says. That was weird since Richard was the first person he asked about the water bottle. Jared went back to Richard. Lucas said you had my water bottle. Jared said, I told you. I saw Albert hold it. Lucas probably meant Richard Lopez, not me, Richard said. I'm just going to buy a new water bottle. Jared said he bought a blue one this time.